Everybody, Lydia, I'll go to you first. It is kind of all about the numbers when it comes to midterms. Without a polarizing figure at the top in a presidential election, when you go into midterms, it comes to who's retiring, what seats are open, what seats have been left open from appointments, stuff like that. So it's not always about which party's doing the best as much as where you are and who's running in that area. But like this Cook political report says, Democrats still have a lean towards the advantage even in that scenario.
Yeah, I think just stepping back and kind of looking big picture at what the Democrats are up against, the Biden administration really left them in what I call is a pickle. They've got a leadership problem and they've got an issues problem. What type of issues can the Democrats really celebrate at this point that would lead them to argue that they should be put into power now? They left the economy in shambles. They left us with an open border. They left us with a national security issue. For families across the country, they're still trying to figure out how can they recover the losses in education that they suffered during COVID. Thank goodness that there are more options and more homeschooling options and charter school options. But it's going to take a long time to recover that, as we see from the latest national test results. When it comes to the various leadership, that's another big issue that we can talk more about. There is no clear leader of the Democrat Party. We just saw this on full display in a recent town hall on another network when AOC was point blank asked whether she was going to primary Chuck Schumer, and she didn't even want to answer the question because, that would just erupt into just full on, civil war on the Democrat side.
David, one thing I saw that happened this week is Caroline Leavitt came out a little bit guns a-blazing about what the Democrat Party may stand for and who their constituents may be. She got a lot of heat for this, and I guess I understand why, but I also know exactly what she was saying because this is what they've shown. Let's take a listen.
The Democrat Party's main constituency are made up of Hamas terrorists, illegal aliens, and violent criminals.
Lydia said, talk about the policies. I mean, those are the policies they've shown.
Yeah, and to take a point from Lydia and add a little of a twist on this, the leadership of the Democrat Party is ideology. They're bound to all of these radical ideologies that are out there, trans ideology. They're pro-illegal alien. They're pro-Hamas. That's a horrible ideology. You talk about real, the kind of people that are going around executing, if the reporting bears out, probably dozens of people since the ceasefire in the Gaza Strip. So they're bound to supporting people who are for that in some way or claiming that there's a lie about America. In other words, the economy's not doing better. Yes, things are tough at times, and that Americans should only be the ones getting benefits instead of illegal aliens on Medicaid. So the Democrats are bound to an ideology that is leftism when you put that all under one umbrella. And out of that, we can't afford that. As a country, we can't afford it. As communities, we can't afford it.
Doctor, when the Democrat Party looks at the issues they think they can champion, I hate to pigeonhole you in this, but your name does start with doctor. They think health care is at the top of the list. They really feel like that's an issue they can own because of the big, beautiful bill. They say that's why they're continuing to keep the government closed. What do you say?
Well, isn't it really interesting that the governments right now are saying that this is a healthcare crisis that was created by the GOP? This is the Republicans' crisis, and they're blaming the shutdown right now on Republicans. But the reality is the state where we're at in healthcare all came under Democratic rule, Democratic policies, which was wildly dependent on the rising entitlement costs, large subsidy programs, and the fact that it is vulnerable because of these expiring subsidies. These are all Democratic put forth policies. The reason they're where they are right now is because of things that they have done, and they're wanting a bailout from the Republicans. The Republicans did not sign on to this health care crisis. They did not create it, and it is not their role to bail it out. Democrats need to come to the table and see what they have put forth is failing. It is not and has never been the Affordable Care Act. It is the Unaffordable Care Act, and the only people who should be focusing really on repealing and replace the ACA right now are Democrats, because this is their mess.
Yeah, and on top of that, the appropriations process is actually working, and Democrats are ignoring it. I think it was Thune that offered them a health care vote and said, hey, if you want to have a vote on health care, we can do that. All right, meanwhile, Democrats continue to eat their own. If Nancy Pelosi decides to run for re-election, well, she might be in trouble. California's state senator, Scott Weiner, is seen as her biggest challenger. He's made a career out of pushing dangerous far-left woke policies, including protections for registered sex offenders. Wow. And placing biological men in women's prisons. Another wow. And the 85-year-old appears to be losing her touch, gripping a staffer for support. She snapped at a reporter when asked a simple question. Let's take a look.
Why did you refuse the National Guard on January 6th? Shut up. I did not refuse the National Guard. The president didn't send it. Why are you coming here with Republican talking points as if you're a serious journalist?
The American people want to know. We still have questions. Thank you.
David, I'm going to go to you on this because that look that I don't know who that reporter is. That look she gave to camera there at the end became kind of a viral meme over the weekend or over the week. And it's this idea that, I mean, her response is to turn around and say, shut up. I mean, like, you know, bring it down to a preschool or a playground level, right?
And the mom finger. She put her finger in her face. Like, who does that?
First of all, this is the queen of the Democrat Party during the No Kings weekend telling you when to shut up. Get it right. Nancy Pelosi's always been the power player, controls the money. Now she's watching it slip away, and she wants to be the queen until she's out of office, and maybe even then. This is not atypical for Nancy Pelosi. We typically don't see this in the media, but over the years, she has a history of snapping at reporters, of snapping at staffers. This has been well documented. There's lots of video out there, and now we're seeing it on full display. But again, this is the queen of the Democrat Party on No Kings weekend. Remember that.
You know, Doctor, the problem here is if it's not Nancy Pelosi, who I think most people, the main credit she gets is that she got everyone to fall in line. Even the AOCs when she had the gavel. But if it's not her, it's Hakeem Jeffries, and he does not look like someone that can wrangle the troops at all.
No, I actually think Nancy Pelosi made a good speaker in her time. I think it is time for her to retire. I think physically she's not doing well, and maybe it is time for a new generation. But, you know, I don't know if you guys read that Axios report that came out about Hakeem Jeffries. I mean, this is just an overarching theme talking about the leadership in the Democratic Party. It was quite damning for him. Axios reached out to the congressional Democrats who are up for re-election. 113 responded. Less than 20% said that they would vote for him when it comes to being Speaker. And, you know, when we're actually looking at who trusts Congress right now, less than 12% of America thinks that Congress is doing a really good job. 2/3 of Americans don't support the shutdown. So when it comes to Congress right now, no one is supporting them. And the Democrats do not have a message. Kind of what Lydia was saying earlier was there is no message going forward. They're continuing to run on anti-Trump rhetoric, and they are going to continue to lose over and over again. And these younger generations coming up, they are going more extreme, more far left, and that is taking them so much far from center that it's going to take a while to get back to middle, and they're just a mess right now.
35 faith leaders are calling on President Trump to act on the deadly persecution of Christians in Nigeria.
Since 2009, over 52,000 Christians have been killed, including 7,000 this year. More than 18,000 churches have been burned since 2009, and over 5 million Christians have been displaced.
Fox News contributor Raymond Arroyo joins us now. Raymond, I'm so glad you're here, and I'm so glad we're doing this topic. We don't speak enough about the persecution of Christians in the world, the #1 persecuted religion in the world. What can you tell us about what's going on in Nigeria and why we've been so slow to respond?
Well, first of all, just to put this in context, if you put together all the Christians persecuted for their faith around the globe, Rachel, they do not compute to the high numbers in Nigeria. As Charlie just mentioned, 52,000 killed since 2009. That equals, there's a group called Inter-Society, which does pretty good polling on the ground. They say that's about 35 Christians killed every day. Okay, 3 churches are destroyed every day in this area. And look, it's a combination. In northern Nigeria, you have both Muslims and Christians being killed. But in the Middle Belt and elsewhere, it's all Christians being slaughtered. And the perpetrators here are Boko Haram, whose name we know, an Islamic terrorist group. You have these Fulani herdsmen who run around on horses or on motorcycles with machine guns. They literally mow these Christians down, these farmers who are tending to their land. It is an outrage. And back in 2017, the Trump administration designated Nigeria as a country of particular concern, which came with sanctions. Well, when the Biden administration came along, Anthony Blinken lifted that designation. He said these murders were being committed because of climate change. So that's why you see now Ted Cruz and 35 Christians saying, wait, we need to redesignate Nigeria as a country of particular concern. It's a bloodbath. It's a genocide.
It does seem like if this were happening to somebody else, you would see it on the front page of the New York Times, the front page of the Washington Post every day. Why isn't it?
Well, I think because A, it's Africa, and we just don't cover Africa the way we should, and B, for whatever reason, Islamic terrorism is just not covered. And when you look closely, 22 Islamic terrorist groups, including Boko Haram and others, have safe haven and have a safe quarter in Nigeria. Now, here's a little news. I was told this last week. There is a group of Nigerian legislators coming to Washington this week trying to petition the Trump administration and Congress from designating their country as a one of particular concern. They don't want this, but they're doing nothing to protect the Christian population there and to stop these radical Islamic groups from just laying waste to people on the other side of the religious divide from them. But I've spoken to Christian leaders there for decades. They will tell you they are very much afeared that Nigeria is going to turn into what Egypt and Constantinople became, which, remember, was a majority Christian country that over time you had an Islamic destruction of the faith. And that's what's happening in Nigeria in real time. We've got to do something here, at least put sanctions on this government.
What's remarkable, I couldn't agree with you more, and what's remarkable is, despite this persecution, the number of conversions and the faith of the African church is something that's so inspirational. So we appreciate you joining us on this story. It's so important.
Thanks, Raymond.
Happy to
Thank
do
you,
it.
Raymond.
It's really important. Thank you all for covering it.